Hello everyone, how are you doing this fine day? Welcome back to my
channel.
If you're new here, hello, my name is Noah, I am the Bookworm, and we do anything to do with books. So kicking off with Don't Die July, I'm actually going to start with Ghost Station by S.A.Barnes. Now this, I pre-ordered this months in advance, and it took, after it was published, a month to arrive, even though it shouldn't have. So there was a whole drama situation with that, but I eventually got it. And you know what? It's not got great reviews on Goodreads, but I enjoyed it. But we'll get through that. We'll get to that eventually. So, I'm going to read the blurb on the inside because I never have them on the outside anymore. Psychologist Dr. Ophelia Bray has dedicated her life to the study and prevention of Eckhart-Reiser syndrome, ERS, the most famous case of which resulted in the brutal murder of 29 people. It's personal to her, and when she's assigned to a small exploration crew who recently suffered the tragic deaths of a colleague, she wants to help. But as they begin to establish residency on an abandoned planet, it becomes clear that the crew is hiding something. And Ophelia's crewmates are far more interested in investigating the eerie ancient planet and unraveling the mystery behind the previous colonizers' struggling with reading things again. The previous colonizers' hasty departure then opening up to her. That is, until their pilot is discovered gruesomely murdered. Is this Ophelia's worst nightmare starting a wave of violence and mental deterioration from ERS? Or is it something even more sinister? Terrified that history will repeat itself, Ophelia and the crew must work together to figure out what's happening, but trust is hard to come by, and the crew members aren't the only ones keeping secrets.
Dun dun dun.
The thing with blurbs is that when I've read blurbs and I've read the book, sometimes they don't match up. With this one, it kind of does. Some bits, it's not really giving you the full story in the blurb, because it's not like they've gone to an abandoned planet just to have a look around about this. They've been paid to go to this planet to have a look from this other business that owned the planet, and they sold it to the business that hired them to go have a look. A lot of things goes on in between. There's a lot of characters in this book, which normally I don't like, but the characters in this were so well written, I actually really enjoyed it. So we have Ophelia, who is our main female character, the psychologist. Some of them call her Doc. We've got Ethan. He is the mission commander. And I guess you could somewhat say kind of somewhat, but not really love interest. There's no romance really in this book, but it's hinted at a tiny little bit, but that's really it. So that worked very well with me in the book. We have Birch, the pilot. We have Kate, the engineer. We have Suresh, who is the inventory specialist. We have Liana, who is the scientific coordinator, who I really enjoyed as a character. And then we had someone called Ava, who was the systems management on the ship within the crew. But we quickly find out, I'm just going to tell this now, that Ava is no longer with the team because they had a loss. Kind of a mysterious sort of thing happened. No one really knows what, so no one's really trusting each other as they did. So yeah, there is a lot of characters in this, but I'm very grateful for the characters because the way they interact with each other, the way they just were with each other, little banter, little digs, very much like a family sort of structure with them, which works really, really well. And the best thing is, it's all one point of view, which is Ophelia's, and that's perfect for me. I always worry when there's a lot of characters, because sometimes it'd be like, oh, who's this now? I don't understand what's going on. I'm very lost and confused, but it worked well, it stayed on point, and I absolutely loved it. The atmosphere in the book was very well written. It definitely had the creep factor in it. The imagery that was written in it was fantastic / mental. It's a whole ball game in there, and it had certain moments that did creep me out. It very much reminded me of, there is this podcast that I listen to that I always go back to listen to, because it's one of them audio ones where people just kind of decide they want to make like a story, so they hired like some voice actors and stuff. It's called White Vault, and it had the same sort of feeling as that. I'll find a link to White Vault and I'll put it in the description below. But it very well done, and this pretty much gave me the vibe for that because it's pretty much cold isolation. That's pretty much what that is, White Vault. And this had the same sort of feeling, and it definitely, when I was reading it and what was going in my mind, I was like, damn, this is actually really creeping me out just a little bit. The one thing is that I need people to realize is that this is a really slow burn book. Like, nothing really happens for, well, until you get to around about just past the halfway mark. Because the first bit is just you kind of like learning about the characters, getting a feel for them, and then the area that they've gone to, and then how things work between each character and what they do and how they do it and so on and so forth, and why this character does this and why this one does that. It's brilliant. The one thing that irks me just a little bit with this is it talks about Eckhart-Reiser syndrome. It doesn't really go into the science of it or the history of it. It's just, this is the syndrome. This is what happened. A lot of people don't believe it's a thing, but it is. But it doesn't really go into, well, here's the cases, here's the stuff. Sure, there was something bad that happened that 29 people died to, but it doesn't go into the rest of it, like other people's sort of thing. You know what I mean? There's no other explanation or here's a example of some others. It's just this one example, 29 people. Rating this book, I would rate this happily 4 out of 5. It's extremely well written. I don't normally like slow burn books, but I enjoyed it so much because it really did build up on the atmosphere and how the characters themselves were interacting in this atmosphere. The only thing why I had to bump it down just a little bit is there's a little bit of a mistake in my book. I don't know if it's in any other person's book, but at the beginning, when you're just kind of getting into it, there's been a mistake where, I don't know, the space bar hasn't worked or something like that when they've typed it up or printed it, and certain words just in the first couple of pages are bunched together. And if you're really into your immersion, it's gonna break it. But I'm grateful that it's at the beginning.
In the beginning.
I'm grateful that it's at the beginning of the book and not like halfway through when things were like really kicking off with the atmosphere and everything, and how creepy things were, and when things were starting happening with the characters themselves. I'm grateful it didn't happen there, because that would have absolutely destroyed me. Is this book worth the wait? I think it was. I actually really enjoyed it. I read it within 2 days. I just kind of breezed through it. I'm really enjoying S.A.Barnes, the author, because I did read Dead Silence. I actually really enjoyed Dead Silence. I'm going to be having a talk with Ven from Ven's Book Corner at some point. We're going to do a nice joint video with that together. And yeah, so that's the start of Don't Die July Ghost Station. Also, very quickly, just for the ending of the book, it rounds off really, really well. The ending is... It's weird for me to say this about a horror book, sci-fi horror, is that the ending itself, kind of abrupt but well-rounded, and I enjoyed it. I will be reading this again. I think it was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know if you've read this book, what you thought about it. I wouldn't mind knowing at all. If you've got anything very similar to this, put down in the comments. I want to know. I want to know all these things. But yeah, much love. Stay awesome. And I will catch you all very, very soon. Bye.